Ngozi, a powerful oil magnate, rescues a homeless man from a brutal street fight, only to discover that the man she's hired as her security guard is actually a billionaire prince who fled an arranged marriage. Ngozi Okoro, a shrewd and successful oil magnate, navigates her way through the bustling streets of Port Harcourt after a long day of work. Her car halts suddenly near a market, where she witnesses a group of men beating a defenseless man. Despite her driver's warnings, Ngozi's instincts push her to intervene. With the help of her bodyguards, she disperses the attackers and helps the injured man into her car. As they drive to the nearest hospital, Ngozi learns his name is Obinna. He is disheveled, bruised, and barely conscious, but there's something about his calm demeanor that intrigues her. She decides to help him, unaware of the secrets buried within his ragged appearance. At the hospital, Ngozi stays by Obinna's side as doctors treat his wounds. He reveals little about his past, but his cultured accent and articulate speech hint at a background far removed from homelessness. Despite his reluctance to share, his gratitude is evident. Moved by his plight, Ngozi offers him a job as a security guard at one of her oil facilities. Obinna hesitates, but with no better options, he accepts. Though grateful, he resolves to keep his true identity hidden. Meanwhile, Ngozi's curiosity about the enigmatic man begins to grow. Weeks pass, and Obinna proves to be more than just a reliable employee. His sharp mind and resourcefulness allow him to resolve conflicts among staff and implement better security protocols. Ngozi finds herself impressed but remains cautious. One evening, she invites him to her office under the guise of discussing work. Over coffee, Ngozi peppers him with casual questions about his life. Obinna answers carefully, sharing fragments of a difficult journey but avoiding specifics. He claims to have lost everything due to a series of unfortunate events, a story that tugs at her heartstrings. Despite his reticence, she senses that he is withholding something significant. While walking the perimeter of the facility one evening, Obinna encounters Chaik, an old staff member with a keen eye for details. Chaik notes Obinna's refined manners and jokingly asks if he was once a royal. Obinna chuckles but offers no response, shifting the conversation to other topics. That night, Obinna gazes at the stars, his thoughts drifting to his estranged royal family. He remembers the pressure of his princely duties and the suffocating expectations that led him to flee. As much as he tries to suppress these memories, they weigh heavily on him, especially as his connection with Ngozi deepens. One evening, Ngozi finds Obinna reading a book in her private library. She didn't expect a security guard to have such refined literary tastes. Intrigued, she joins him, and they share a conversation about philosophy and life's complexities. For the first time, Obinna lets his guard down slightly, revealing his love for education and culture. Their bond begins to grow beyond the professional, and Ngozi finds herself drawn to his intelligence and kindness. Yet, she can't shake the feeling that there's more to him than his letting on. Ngozi is invited to a prestigious gala in Port Harcourt attended by business moguls, politicians, and royalty. At the last minute, her assistant cancels, leaving her without a companion. On a whim, she asks Obinna to accompany her, reasoning that he can double as her bodyguard. At the gala, Obinna's poise and charm stand out, drawing admiration from the guests. His fluency in multiple languages and knowledge of global affairs surprise Ngozi. A curious business rival asks where she found him, but Ngozi brushes off the question. Watching him navigate the elite crowd with ease, she begins to wonder just who Obinna really is. Obinna's unexpected grace and charisma at the gala catch the attention of several influential figures. Among them is Princess Adeobi, a royal who recognizes Obinna's face but cannot immediately place him. Suspicious, she discreetly inquires about him. Obinna notices her scrutiny and quietly advises Ngozi that they should leave. As they drive away, he becomes uncharacteristically tense. Ngozi, puzzled by his sudden change in demeanor, asks what's wrong, but Obinna dismisses her concerns. Still, her curiosity grows stronger. The next day, Ngozi questions Obinna about his past again, but he deflects. Frustrated, she lets it go but begins her own quiet investigation. Meanwhile, Obinna inadvertently slips up when he addresses one of Ngozi's guests with a royal title, using a greeting specific to Igbo nobility. Ngozi notices and confronts him later. Obinna hesitates before fabricating an explanation, but his avoidance only deepens her suspicion. She begins to wonder if he's hiding a dangerous secret. Unbeknownst to Obinna, his family has been searching for him since his disappearance. His elder brother, Prince Chijioke, learns through a royal contact that someone resembling Obinna was seen at the Port Harcourt Gala. The royal household, desperate to bring him back, sends emissaries to investigate. Meanwhile, Obinna starts to feel the weight of his double life. As his feelings for Ngozi grow, so does his fear of her discovering the truth. But with his family closing in, it's only a matter of time before his past catches up with him. One evening, Ngozi corners Obinna in her office and demands answers. She reveals that she's been investigating him and knows he isn't who he claims to be. Trapped, Obinna finally confesses the truth. He is Prince Obinna of the Umuofia Kingdom, a runaway royal who left his family to escape an arranged marriage and the stifling expectations of his role. Ngozi is stunned. She struggles to process the revelation, torn between anger at his deception and sympathy for his plight. For the first time, Obinna feels a sense of relief, though he fears what her next move might be. Before Ngozi can fully process the truth, emissaries from the Umuofia Kingdom arrive at her office. They demand to see Obinna, claiming they have been searching for him for years. Ngozi, still reeling from his confession, refuses to let them see him without his consent. The arrival of the royal emissaries forces Ngozi to confront her feelings for Obinna. She realizes she has fallen for him, but the complexities of his life make her question whether their relationship is feasible. Obinna, too, struggles with his emotions. He fears that staying close to Ngozi will only endanger her, but he cannot bear the thought of leaving her behind. Their bond grows stronger as they confide in each other, but the looming presence of the royal family threatens to pull them apart. Prince Chijioke arrives in Port Harcourt, determined to bring Obinna home. Unlike the emissaries, he doesn't mince words. He warns Obinna that refusing to return could have severe consequences, not just for him but also for those he cares about. Obinna stands firm, but Chijioke's words plant seeds of doubt. He begins to worry about Ngozi's safety, knowing his family's influence can reach far and wide. The pressure mounts, leaving Obinna torn between his love for Ngozi and his duty to protect her. Ngozi decides to stand by Obinna, despite the risks. She confronts Chijioke directly, making it clear that she won't allow anyone to force Obinna into a life he doesn't want. Her boldness surprises Chijioke, who begins to see why Obinna is drawn to her. However, Ngozi also faces backlash from her business partners and society. Rumors about her relationship with a disgraced prince spread, threatening her reputation. Yet, she refuses to back down, determined to fight for the man she loves. The king himself arrives in Port Harcourt, hoping to persuade Obinna to return. The reunion is tense, with the king expressing disappointment in his son's choices. However, he also reveals a more personal side, sharing the struggles of leading a kingdom and the sacrifices he's had to make. Obinna begins to see his father in a new light but remains resolute in his desire to live life on his terms. The conversation ends without resolution, leaving both father and son at a crossroads. As the royal pressure intensifies, Obinna begins to second-guess his decision. He loves Ngozi deeply, but the pull of his heritage and the responsibilities of being a prince weigh heavily on him. Late one night, he takes a solitary walk by the water, contemplating his future. Ngozi, sensing his internal conflict, follows him. The sight of him standing alone in the moonlight tugs at her heart. She joins him, and for the first time, they openly discuss their fears about the future. Obinna admits that part of him feels torn between his duty to his family and his love for her. Ngozi, holding back tears, tells him that no matter what, she wants him to choose his own path. Obinna decides to meet with the royal family one last time, this time on his own terms. The king, visibly frustrated, insists that Obinna must return to the kingdom to fulfill his role as heir. However, Obinna pushes back, asking his father to understand the personal sacrifices he's made and the life he's built for himself. The conversation grows heated, and the king threatens to strip him of his title if he refuses to comply. Obinna stands firm, but a sense of unease lingers as he wonders if he's sacrificing too much by staying away. Ngozi begins receiving anonymous threats. At first, they are subtle, unsettling messages and small signs of intrusion. But soon, they escalate. One evening, she returns home to find a note scrawled on her door: "Leave the prince, or face the consequences." Terrified for her safety, Ngozi confronts Obinna. He becomes enraged, blaming his royal family for the threats. He insists that he's not going back, no matter what, but the strain of protecting her while keeping his family at bay takes its toll. Obinna realizes the full extent of what his life with Ngozi will cost her. As the pressure mounts, Ngozi receives an unexpected visitor, Chijioke, Obinna's older brother. Unlike the rest of the royal family, he doesn't seek to force Obinna's return. Instead, he offers his help in finding a peaceful resolution. Chijioke reveals that he has his own disagreements with their father and doesn't want to see his brother trapped in a life he doesn't want. Chijioke proposes a plan to negotiate a middle ground with their family, giving Obinna the freedom to choose his own path without losing everything. In exchange, the royal family will stop pressuring him to marry and will leave Ngozi out of their demands. Reluctantly, Obinna agrees to work with Chijioke, but he remains cautious, unsure whether this plan will work or if it's just another royal trap. Obinna and Ngozi meet privately to discuss their next steps. They agree that the only way forward is to confront the royal family head-on, but with Chijioke's help, they want to carve out a life where Obinna can remain true to himself and still keep ties with his family. It's a delicate balance, but both are determined to fight for the future they want. As Obinna prepares for the upcoming negotiations, he opens up to Ngozi about his past, the fears that drove him to flee, the weight of his royal lineage, and his longing for a life of his own choosing. Ngozi, moved by his vulnerability, reassures him that no matter what happens, she will be by his side. The day of the royal negotiation arrives. In a tense meeting between Obinna, Ngozi, Chijioke, and the king, they lay out their terms. The king is reluctant but eventually agrees to a compromise. Obinna will retain his title but will have the freedom to live as he chooses, provided he helps modernize the kingdom's infrastructure. In exchange, the royal family will stop pressuring him to marry and will leave Ngozi out of their demands. However, the king's approval comes with conditions. Obinna must return to the kingdom for ceremonial duties and make appearances at significant events. Ngozi, while relieved that Obinna won't be forced into marriage, struggles with the idea of him constantly living between two worlds. As Obinna returns to his kingdom for the first time in years, he feels a sense of relief mixed with anxiety. He's allowed to live on his terms, but the expectations of his royal bloodline continue to linger. Meanwhile, Ngozi finds herself struggling with the adjustments. Obinna's royal duties pull him away frequently, and the pressure of their unconventional relationship weighs on her. Yet, both are determined to make it work, learning to navigate their intertwined worlds with patience and compromise. Obinna spends more time in his kingdom, balancing his royal duties with his commitment to Ngozi. They face new challenges as outsiders, especially when Obinna's family becomes more vocal about their hopes for him to fully embrace his royal responsibilities. As Obinna's royal duties continue, he begins to find fulfillment in modernizing the kingdom's infrastructure, something he never thought possible when he first fled. His relationship with Ngozi deepens, and together, they dream of a future where both love and duty can coexist. Obinna and Ngozi, despite their challenges, realize that they don't have to give up one for the other. They start discussing their plans for the future, a life where they can build a legacy not just for themselves, but for the people around them. After a year of compromises, travels, and navigating the balance between royal life and personal desires, Obinna and Ngozi finally find a way to settle. Obinna is allowed to live as a modern prince, and Ngozi is recognized as a legitimate partner in his life. Their businesses expand, and the royal family comes to accept Ngozi as part of their world. Obinna proposes to Ngozi in a quiet ceremony on the banks of the river where they first shared their deepest fears. Surrounded by only their closest friends and family, they pledge to build a life together that bridges both their worlds. As they embark on a new chapter together, Obinna and Ngozi face the future with hope and determination. With a newfound understanding of love, duty, and sacrifice, they know that while their journey is just beginning, they have each other to navigate whatever challenges arise. Their love story becomes one of legend, an unlikely union between a powerful oil magnate and a runaway prince, proving that true love knows no boundaries. Together, they forge a path that blends both royalty and the heart, forever shaping their world and their legacy.